Chad Austin is a personal trainer, but so much more. An author. He helps people with fitness, with nutrition. He's a former athlete, former physical education teacher. He's out of Overland Park, Kansas City. Really enjoyed talking to Chad. Very refreshing. I mean, just genuinely wants to help people. You know, fitness is just something that people push off. We talk about, just physical education in the school system, how, it's generally run by, sports coaches, and, it doesn't, people don't want gravitate to it well. And some ideas on how that should improve and how we have to incorporate fitness in everything we do. And diet is so important, and he just does a great job. He's written a couple books. He can help you virtually as well, with just some great ideas and pointers on how to introduce fitness and stretching and just activity into your life, which is so important, especially the pandemic. Hopefully, towards the end of this pandemic, how we can really make a shift, hopefully, in our society, and add exercise and add better nutrition. But really great conversation with Chad Austin. I know you're going to like it. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business and it lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission: how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family, and their passion, and their careers, and how it helped them. Our podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Really enjoyed learning about you, Chad. Thanks so much for doing this. So, how are we going to do it, Chad? How are we going to get America healthy? I mean, with everything that's going on, hopefully we're getting towards the end of the pandemic. It's just the government won't once say, get out and walk, or just eat less, or just do. They don't. They just say get vaccinated or whatever. They don't even say take vitamin E, right? It's just, how are we going to get America healthy?
Yeah, it starts with the government you said is not saying anything, but really I think it starts when we're in school. We're learning so many basic
Mm.
education things, but I was a PE teacher before I became a trainer, and so that was 15 years ago. But even then, we were starting to do away with how much you're required to have and learn in PE, and how much PE you're even supposed to take. But it's just like certain skills you're not taught, and it comes to the question where if you're not taught in school and you're not taught in your parents, how are you supposed to learn it? And I feel like eating right and exercising is like it's one of those things everyone understands the value and why it's important, but no one really understands how they should do it because we're not really taught that. So it's I think there's a lot of changes that really need to be made, from the accountability all over the place for us to get better and healthier.
Yeah, you brought up a really important point that nobody talks about: physical education. I mean, I loved it as a kid, but I was, I enjoyed playing sports. But you could tell how there was a lot of resistance from, a lot of the kids, and they just kind of stood there. And uh, should it be done differently?
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe it shouldn't be PE. Maybe there should be just you know, like a fit for life or fitness for life or
Mm.
being your best self kind of class. I don't know. Cause I mean, I definitely in PE, I know the problem, I was most PE teachers in high school or middle school and, they're sports coaches. And so
Mm.
definitely they cater towards the athletes and it shouldn't just be about that. It should be about everybody. and should be a teaching life important skills. But I think that's really part of the problem that is, I was when I was a PE teacher, I was a PE plus head wrestling and assistant football, and so you definitely know who your athletes were, and
Hmm.
as your time to bond with them. And I think it's a problem that no one can really see coming. But yeah, it's definitely um, just like important life skills we have to learn growing up. Eating right and exercising and how to do that as we age needs to be something that we take a bigger focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just as you know, I lost a lot of weight. Were you ever big? Were you ever heavy?
I wasn't really ever heavy, but I've definitely gone in spurts where I lost some of my fitness level. I try to keep. I mean, I was a athlete in high school and a college athlete, and but then when I definitely the 3 years I was a teacher and way more sedentary um and probably dealing with a lot more stress and responsibility being my first career job. I definitely had
Hmm.
to relearn when I became a trainer, and so I definitely have gone in spurts. I think that's the thing that needs to be that's the thing that we don't learn. In my book series, it's make fitness a priority.
Right.
And just to tell you a little bit, I when I first was writing the book, I did a poll, and so I knew I was going to write a fitness book about long-term success, but I didn't really know the direction. And so my poll question was just, what are your top priorities in life? And the top
Hmm.
answers, for hundreds of answers that hundreds of people had taken, the top answers are family and career, right? But no one thinks about health and fitness. It's like
Right.
whenever the curveballs of life's changes come, we're very good at adapting and pivoting when it comes to our family, our career, our faith, those things. We're terrible at adapting when it comes to our health. And
Hmm.
so as life changes, we always have to relearn how fitness fits in our life. And it's just something that, we're never taught. And so we just have to kind of keep relearning, and that is the problem. We're always trying to do what worked best for us in the past, but what we try and do doesn't necessarily fit in the life we're living.
Yeah, and in this country, I believe the current statistics are not promising. Obese and then being overweight is somewhere in the 75% range in this country. So I mean, it's a serious, serious issue. And I enjoy that you brought up your book too, because not enough people are doing it. You also talk about these kind of diet scams where people promising all these things, and to be aware of like the short cut way to lose weight. And it's just a change in life. You have to just change the way you do things.
Yeah, just to think of anything that is worth doing. I mean, there's never an easy way. You always have
Mm.
to put into work, and you have to learn how it fits best for you and not someone else. And but yeah, that's the thing when it comes with fitness. I mean, personal trainers and people that have careers in fitness, were definitely outnumbered by the promise of instant gratification.
Right.
Every month there's a new miraculous weight loss product out there that's promising an easier way, and with little or no work on the part of the consumer, right? And so it's we're always in an uphill battle because we put off fitness because we don't think we can fit it. We don't see how it fits in our life, and
Mm.
by the time we just can't take it anymore. And I mean, everyone has a deep desire to look and feel better, right? And so it's just, even the smartest person's judgment can get clouded when there's promises of faster success and promises that it's going to be easier. But it's just an illusion. It's only going to be temporary success. It's not going to be long term. So that is a problem that we have to fix.
Yeah, because I don't know what the numbers are, but I know a lot of people who lost a lot of weight and then just gain it right back.
Yes, and it's a really alarming statistic. Back when anyone that has had a weight loss surgery, I
Mm.
remember years ago when I was a trainer having an interview with someone that works at a extreme weight loss clinic, where there'd be a weight loss. Well, what they would do, they would take someone in that was going to be getting either gastric bypass or lap band or anything like that that's supposed to help you lose weight. Um, but they would have, it was a extreme weight loss clinic where they would come in and they would work on the behavioral changes of someone before they had that surgery, so that they could keep
Mm.
the weight off, because so many people have those surgeries that are going to help you lose weight because it stops you from eating as much. But eventually, even though they lose the weight, eventually it ends up getting reversed, and they put that weight back on because they haven't changed their habits. They
Right.
haven't they've got rid of the weight, and but eventually it comes back on because they haven't changed their behavior, they haven't changed their habits. And so really, I mean, when you want to make fitness a long-term part of your life, when you want to become healthier, it's not just a temporary change. Really what it is an identity change. You have to
Mm.
become the person where for every act, you have to become the person who is that more fit, or someone that works out all the time, or always eats healthy and is in a great mood and not stressed and depressed and low on energy because of how they treat themselves. You have to become that person. And so it can't be something that's just in a vision of a short term.
Yeah, it has to. That's very. I like that identity change or lifestyle change. You, this is not a temporary thing. Now, in my case, I've always been, I've always been athletic. I've always been in decent shape, but then I started a business, gained a lot of weight, didn't recognize it. Doctor told me, my daughter's born. Doctor told me, said I got up to 340 pounds. And doctor told me, if you don't cut this out, you're not going to see your daughter grow up. So I kind of had this come to Jesus moment. And it was at that point where I just shifted everything. And I just changed the way I did. I didn't, no more sugary drinks. I still ate what I wanted to, but just half of it, and eventually cut that back. Do a lot of your clients have these kind of come to Jesus moments?
Oh yeah, that there's so much right there what you just said. I mean, you have a deep reason why
Right.
that you knew right when you started that. I mean, your doctor told you, he put it to you straight. You know, you're not going to be here to watch your daughter grow up, and I mean that is a deep reason why. I mean, everyone when the going gets tough. I mean, if people are, I hear people say all the time they don't like to work out, and it's like something that we are afraid to say out loud. But most people feel that way, or if
Mm,
they don't feel that way, they feel that way from time to time. I mean, most people don't like to do it, but if you're really successful at being fit, it's because you understand why you need to do it. Just like anything else, whether it be your career, with your family, there's things you don't want to do from time to time, but you do it because you understand how important it is. You have to understand when the going gets tough and when you have to make sacrifices, you have to understand why you're doing it or you won't do it. And the deeper that why is, that's the fuel that helps you get success. But that is so important. I have so many clients that has been the turning point for them is when
mm,
they really when instead of that, when you ask them what their goals are, and the first answer when someone asks you what your goals are, the first answer is always a bit vague. And so
mm,
you have to keep digging deeper and digging deeper until you really get to the root of why this is really important to you, why you really want this. And once you do that, for you, I mean, the weight loss, I'm sure part of the weight loss goal was that you wanted to feel better, you wanted to look better, but the deep reason for you is because you wanted to be there for your kids. You want to be there for your family is what I'm hearing. And so that once you really figured that out, it sounds like you were able to lose the weight, but it's become an identity change because you understand why you do the sacrifices. And that's so important.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I went all the way up to a 44-inch waist, and now I'm down to 32. I had to change all my clothes. But how do you, Chad? How do you tell a friend, family, somebody that you love and you care about that, you're heading in the wrong direction? Because, weight is a very delicate discussion. It's a self identity. I don't want to make it generalizations, but maybe especially with women. But like, how do you approach them and discuss that gently?
Well, definitely first I normally start with empathy because I
Mm,
can I can tell you, I mean, anyone that's out there is having a weight loss. I mean, I've never been way overweight, but I've definitely been 20, 30 pounds overweight for me. And as an athlete, that I mean that's a lot. I mean, everyone, when you don't you have no matter what anyone else says to you, when you're out of shape or what you feel like is your best, it affects you, and no matter how much that is. But I've definitely had to be be honest with myself. And so the first thing I do is I let people know um that this isn't something they need to be ashamed of. This isn't something they need to beat themselves up for or judge themselves for, because every single person goes through this from time to time. There's no one that making fitness a priority in your life is easy for. And if you see someone on social media that makes it appear like it is because you're watching their highlight video,
mm,
they're lying to you a little bit because they've gone through tough times with this too. It's been hard for them in the past too, even fitness trainers. And that, I mean, as fitness trainers, I mean, the best fitness trainers, they understand this and they know that you get better by leaning into this. This is
mm.
fitness is hard for everybody. But what I would tell people most of the time when they, especially if they're part of their story like yours, is you used to be in shape and now you're not. It's not something that you need to be ashamed of, because this is normal as you go through life. As life's changes happen, and you have to readjust and your balance of how fitness fits in your life. I mean, and from a lot of my clients that have come in and out of my schedule. So I've had a few clients over the years where I've helped them get a lot of results and figure out how fitness fits in their life. They've lost a lot of weight or whatever the case may be, and then we've had a plan and they've gone on by themselves for a couple years, and they've done, and eventually they've come back to me and they put this weight back on, or they've kind of lost their track of their routine and they need my help to get back into it. And I've had a few clients that this happened a few times, and every time it's because something major happened in their life that changed. So one of my clients, I
Mm.
always use an example, Josh. He came to me the first time he came to me. It was his first year as a teacher, and it was first main job, and so he's really sedentary during his job, and so he put this weight on. Never worked out before, never needed to, and to keep his weight down. And so I taught him how to do it, and he lost a lot of weight over the summer. And so we had a plan, and so for several years that worked. But then as he started getting more of a responsibilities with his career. So the second time I met him, he was a head coach of a sport. And so he had put on a little bit of weight doing that. And the next time I met him, he was a head coach again, but he was also married now and was expecting a child on the way. And then the next time I met him, he was an assistant principal, so he wasn't head coach anymore, but assistant principal. And so with any assistant job, it's basically the same responsibilities as the main job, just less pay, probably, right?
Right,
So
right.
each
More
time it's just a
responsibility.
little
Yeah,
bit more responsibility.
yeah.
And so this is what happens: you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. And so, like I said earlier, we're really good at adapting to change when it comes to our family and our career. But fitness is always what we put off. But
Mm,
it's the same thing as, and here's why. So that excuse we always keep coming back to, that I'm too busy, that is the
mm.
hardest obstacle to overcome for most people. What we really mean when you say that normally is, I'm too busy to work out like I used to.
Right.
It's because whenever we were in the best shape of our life, that is kind of the bar that we have. And so it's like, if I work out less than that, if I do less than that, I'm doing something wrong. And
Mm,
so we try to do that, but we have so much more responsibilities in our life now that just would not fit. So if you do fitness right, it should really be the vehicle to make everything in your life better. It should make you better husband, should make you better dad, make you better coworker, better at everything, right? But if you try to fit it in a way that's too much, it can actually ruin the balance of all those things in your
right.
life. And so just because it fits differently doesn't mean that it's less of a priority. It's just your life is changing.
Yeah, very well said, Chad. Very well said. And I know specifically, when I started workout, I was like, all right, how am I going to do now? And you do the workout, but I have never heard anybody not say they didn't feel great after a workout. I mean, everybody just your body rewards you. It's saying thank you, right? And you just feel so good, and you just feel alive, and it's your body wants it, your body craves it, and yeah, the I know I'm talking to this one, and we have some people of certain segment of the population that perhaps exercise too much, right? They just take it way very extreme, and good for them, but you don't want them to be I can never be like that. You don't want that to be an excuse for somebody who doesn't work that way. But I mean, when you talk to some of those people and you say things like, you know did you have time to work out today? And he goes, what do you mean? Did you have time to eat? Well, then you had time to work out. That's just their mentality. And it's so ingrained that, they can't imagine a day without it.
Yeah, and I mean, and hats off to them for figuring that out. But I bet
Right.
most of those people, there came a time where they had to figure that out.
Mm,
And I mean, it's not something that some people that don't really grasp this is, they haven't learned it. And so I mean that's why I would encourage you, if you're trying to figure out how fitness fits in your life, but you just don't know where to start, then you need to reach out to a fitness professional. And I mean, every fitness professional, we're in this job because we want to help people.
That's right.
And it's not going to be like I'm not. I've had to learn because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a business owner. I've had to learn how to get better with technology, but it's my least favorite thing to go to get my computer worked on because
Mm.
in that field, I feel like I'm always made to feel like I'm an idiot because I'm supposed to know how to do this myself, and that should never be the case. I always use that as example.
Hmm.
So no offense to anyone that is in that field because I'm sure you're not all that way. But every time I go there to get my computer fixed, I feel like I'm just an idiot. I should have known how to do this already. And that's how I feel like I'm talked to. And that's never the case when it comes to fitness. There's never a wrong. It's the hardest thing to do is to open the front door and get started. So people
Mm.
always ask me, what's the hardest exercise to do? I think the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door. It's so hard
Mm.
because it's the
Huh.
unknown. You don't know what it is. But I'm telling you, it's a welcoming environment. Any fitness professional, they're in this job because they want to help you. And so you need to erase that story in your head that you're going to feel like an idiot because you should know how to do this already. Because there's no reason you should know how to do this already. But that's why we're here is to help you learn.
Yeah, very good point. And that analogy is a terrific one with technology because, and that's what I like about you and your videos. You're very confident, but you're never arrogant, Chad. So and it's very important because people are intimidated by that. I don't want somebody to yell at me or they don't have an athletic background, perhaps, and their mode of motivation may be different from others. So, learning that and trying to motivate people is difficult. But going back to education and physical education, if we can be taught at that age that exercise is integral to to better life, to work life balance, to I wonder. I always hear the struggle that they're always cutting PE budgets and things like that. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, well, I mean, that started 15 years ago when I was a teacher. I mean, it seemed like
Really?
every year they were cutting down how much. I mean, when I was in high school a long time ago, I had to take 2 years of PE, and so but now, I mean, I think the last year I was teaching, I know it was 1. You only had to take 1 year of
Wow.
PE, and it was only really in your the one required year is half of it is of it is PE, and the next half is health. And so
Hmm.
it's not even a full, it's really a
Wow.
semester of PE. And so I mean, but we're not really taught, really what it should be taught is how fitness fits in your life. And that is
Mm.
a different answer for every single person. And so there's a perception when it comes to personal training. For example, so I trained my dad, and so as I mentioned to you before we started, my dad's Steve Austin. So I trained Stone Cold Steve Austin
Yes.
in my mind. But
Congratulations.
I had to be a trainer for 10 years before my dad would let me train him because I'm glad I
Hmm.
know this now and we went through this so I could help other people understand this. But he had this perception in his mind that personal training meant bodybuilding,
Hmm.
and that is just what he thought of personal training. And I'll tell you, fitness is different for every single
Ah.
person. For him, really he does his exercise is important to him, and eating right is important to him, so that he can move without pain. So he can live a pain-free life, and so he can
Mm.
keep all the mobility he had when he was younger, and he can be an active grandpa. And for some people, it's about weight loss. For some people, it's about energy or dealing with stress. And some people it's maybe more athletic, and so but every single or some people might be dealing with pain, getting rid of your lower back pain, your upper
Mm.
back pain, anything like that. And but it's different for everybody, and that's why it's called personal training. We figure out what your goals are and the best way to get you there. And so it's not one size fits all. And so that's why that's a problem with a lot of programs that are out there that do so well because the red flag is that it's not individualized to you. It's everybody that does the program does the exact same thing, and the goal is to get you as much results as possible in this time frame. But that's a pure sign that it's going to be just temporary success because there's no fitting it in your life, and everything should fit your lifestyle, should fit your history, your abilities, and what you're trying to do in the future. And it's scalable. So it just personal training, fitness, exercise, and nutrition, all those things are different for every single person, and you just have to learn for yourself what's best for you and then scale it from there.
Yeah, very well said again. Yeah, the example of your father. I mean, how about the myth that fitness is bench pressing and deadlifts and these things, bodybuilding. um it can also be stretching and yoga and
Mhm.
light impact and swimming and walking. I mean, again, it's got to be catered to that person's needs.
Yeah, I have people that I have one client that is in a wheelchair for majority of the time when I train him. I have one client that it is. I have a few clients that it's more of an athletic workout. But by the way, they didn't start that way. They just kind of
Mm,
kept scaling up. It was just about getting fit and having a total body workout, and it just progressed to there. And I have some clients just about weight loss, and some clients it's just about, like for me, I would say now I think fitness started as important to me because I was an athlete, and so it was more probably my biggest motivation was how I looked.
mm,
But now, I mean, I would say nowadays my biggest motivation for exercising is how it makes me feel. I mean, I definitely can handle my stress and depression better. I'm a very introverted person, but I have found the strength of mine is speaking. And so the more in shape I am, I handle the anxiety, any anxiety I would have that with that, and I get more confident and I'm better at it. But it's just really, it's more about handling my anxiety and depression and tr- uh, cycling my energy, creating my energy the way I want it to is more my biggest reason. But you have to figure out what's best for you, and fitness should make you better. Fitness should make you better, and it should overflow into all other areas of your life and make you better across the board. That's why fitness is so important. When we keep saying we're going to get to it later, we're doing ourselves a disservice because we're not the other priorities that we think are taking up all the time of our life, so we don't have time for exercise yet. Those would elevate to a new level if we just figured out a way to fit fitness in our life.
mm. Yeah. Yeah, that'll really help everything. Once you're healthy, once you're more fit, you can actually do those things better, more efficiently. And so you talk about the no matter what mentality.
Hmm.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, I think it's more of not letting every excuse is really just an obstacle we haven't overcome yet,
Mm,
right? And so that's my first book is Make Fitness a Priority: How to Win the Fight Against Your Excuses. And so, by the way, every time I do an interview, I love getting to speak and share my knowledge and everything, but we just have a little bit of time together. So, listeners, if you like my interview today, feel like you had a couple takeaways, you can go to beatyourexcuses.com, and I'll make sure you have that link so you can share it in your notes too. But you can get a free copy of my first book.
nice.
And it's a good guide if you're whether you're getting started or restarting, it's going to be a good motivational guide for you as you start your journey. But really, that is what just like you do with your family or your job, if you have something you have to get done, you're going to find a way to get it done. No matter what curveballs are thrown at you,
Mm,
you're still going to find a way to get it done. There's no way around it, right? But So I talk about all the top in my first book. I have a top 10 list of biggest excuses
hmm,
that we make all the time, right? So I already mentioned the first one, I don't have time. That's always the biggest excuse. But it goes from I don't have time, I'm too busy, I'm too tired, I'm too bored, I'm too old. I can't afford to exercise. What all the excuses we make, I just do it Letterman style from 10 to 1, right? And but there's those excuses, but those excuses are easier to overcome and have a no matter what mentality because we know they're coming, right? Our track record tells us every time we restart, these are the things that are problems. And so you can
mm,
kind of plan ahead of how to overcome those. The big ones that comes with the no matter what mentality of making fitness a priority in your life are the curveballs we can't see coming. And so those in my book, I call them the donuts. And I teach my clients how to become donut slayers.
donut
And so in
slayer.
that comes my wrestling coach. He wanted us to learn how to be dragon slayers. And so the dragons in his mind were everything that could get in the way of a 19-year-old wrestler be having a successful year. So you can think
Mm,
of all the things that can get in the way. And so that's what he called dragons. For I call them donuts, because I believe donuts can be both the best and worst things on the planet. You know, they
Mm.
can be the best cheat meal that I love. They're definitely my favorite cheat meal or treat to give my indulge myself with, but they can also be something, if I don't handle it the right way, that can just derail my whole nutrition plan and just send me in a spiral of way too much sugar and everything, right? So the donuts are the curveballs you can't see coming. So a couple examples: we have the sick kid donut, and so that maybe you're a parent and you plan on working out after school or during your lunch break, but you get a call from the school and your kid is sick, so you need to go home and take them. So you're working where you're working from home the rest of the day and taking care of your kid. Now, how are you still going to get your workout in? Or maybe it's the bad weather donut, and you plan on going for a run in the
Hmm.
morning before you go to work, and you open the door in the morning and you're all ready to go, and it's pouring rain. And so, what are you going to do? And so there's all these different things that can happen. Gym's closed. I can't go to the gym now, or whatever it is. But I have a big list of different things that are just curveballs you didn't foresee coming. And it makes you have to pivot and come another plan. And so, but you always have to have the mentality that no matter what happened, I'm still going to get my workout in. I'm still going to do the best I can to make fitness a priority today, even though this happened. And most of the time, if you have that mentality, you'll keep getting better and better at it, and you'll always still succeed. But there will be times you still fail, but that's part of it too. Then you just ask yourself, why didn't I succeed? How couldn't I find a way? How could I do better next time? And it's just the cycle that keeps making you better as you go.
Wow. Yeah, you do mention Donut Slayer, and let's talk about nutrition for a moment. I mean, should food addiction be treated as a typical addiction?
Yeah, and I think that is a something that we don't talk enough about. I think
Mm.
most people have some sort of issue with food, and I don't know if it's just the way we talk about that subject in our country, and it's worse for us or what. But I mean, I definitely like I've myself. I know I definitely have issues with food, and it's. I mean, I've learned a lot over the past couple years. For one, I know I just recently since the pandemic started, I've realized how one bad habit I have of saying eat good or eat bad, or bad foods, good foods. And I think
Hmm.
not saying that something is a bad food. It's your relationship you have with what you eat and what you and your food, I think, is a very important thing. But having a wrestling background and having to make weight for so many years, and then being a wrestling
Mm.
coach, I think that, and then being a trainer, also, and putting more pressure on myself to have a certain appearance. There's definitely things I could point to, but it is something that the way we our relationship with food, I think, is the biggest thing. The relationship with food, the relationship with how we eat and how we talk to ourselves about it. But yeah, that is a big problem that I think in our country so many people face and have different struggles with, and that hopefully we'll keep getting better at that. But that's definitely a problem that we don't talk enough about in our country.
Yeah, I was fortunate recently to talk to a head dietitian at McDonald's Corporation, and I asked, um, you know, you profit from obesity, and their point was, well, we put calories next to everything. It's up to the consumer. Small fry is 250 calories, large fry is 500 calories. It's up to the consumer to see that and make decisions, which is a very good answer. But it's just so inexpensive and it's so available. It's a little bit of it just could be misleading. Not misleading, could just be inviting to people who want to, what you just said, good food is bad food and bad food is good food, to get out that way. I mean, can the restaurants, just the food industry, just do a better job at presenting more beneficial, more healthy, better healthy food to us?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we have come a long way. I mean, since in the last 15 years, I think. I mean, they can say, well, the calories are there, but that's also, I think that's, they have to have the calories. I think
Right.
there's a
They
little bit
do.
of a law that's making them do that, so they can point all they want to, but I mean, they could also take a little more accountability on the problem if they wanted to too. But I mean, that's just, but part of it is just I've definitely had. I mean, I didn't. This goes back to what we talked about earlier. Wasn't taught good or bad. I mean, I remember went back from way back when I was a junior in high school. The first year I didn't do track, and so the last part of school I wasn't doing a sport. And so me and my friend, every day after school, I would get a king size Butterfinger and a 20-ounce wild cherry Pepsi, and he would get a king size Kit Kat and a 20-ounce Mountain Dew every single day. And I know I had the same, and no one told me that was bad or good.
Right.
Everyone was doing that. And then when I was in college, even though I was a college athlete, I know I could get two double cheeseburgers for $2 from Burger
Right.
King that was right by my house. Part of it is just no one's. I mean, no one's taught that it's a bad thing to do or that it's good or bad behavior. And most of the marketing out there for all these franchises, all these businesses are going to tell you it's a good idea to do it. And it's, whether there's so much justification for it, whether it's, you deserve it, it's a treat for you, or you just did something hard. I mean, I can justify always in my mind why I deserve this or why it's okay for me to do this,
Mm.
but it's still, it's just, but it's not going to change. It's one of those obstacles that's just something that we have to learn how to overcome. Because I mean, the food industry, there's always going to be bad food out there we can eat. And so we can point fingers all we want, one way or another, why we're eating it. But that's just an obstacle that's not going away. We have to overcome it. So if we want to live a healthier life, we have to learn the healthier way to eat. And that doesn't mean you can't ever have food that like hamburgers or anything like that you would have there, but learning how to do it in a healthy way that fits your
Right.
lifestyle, and doesn't keeps you on the journey of being that fit person that you want to be, and making fitness a priority in your life and not someone that is falling farther and farther away from having that identity.
Yeah, really true. And just, you just go into the grocery and you just pick something up, and sugar is always the second or third ingredient. I mean, is the American public addicted to sugar?
Absolutely. I don't
Yeah.
think there's any question. Of
No.
course we are. I think my wife right now currently, she's had some food sensitivity issues, and so she's gluten free. She's had issues with gluten. She's had issues with eggs, and so we've had different things that we're trying. But I'm being supportive. We're currently right now doing the Candida diet, so we can help figure out for some healing for her.
Mm.
But that's a 30. If you don't know what the Candida diet is, basically it's 30 days with no sugar, and so any form of sugar. So fruits off limits
Wow.
for us for 30
Wow.
days, and so it's a real discipline that you have to make sure you're doing it right. But now it's been about a week and a half in, and it's definitely easier. I feel better than I did before, and so it's
Mm.
it's getting rid of that sugar. It's one of those things like we don't realize what it's doing to us until it's out of our system, and we see the results of what it's like without it. But yeah, but definitely sugar is an addiction to a lot of us. But just like a lot of people are addicted to coffee and caffeine also, and so it's definitely something we just have to monitor. And it's a lot of making fitness a priority in your life and becoming the healthiest version of yourself is awareness. Just being self-aware and
Yeah.
it's a combination of being self-aware and having the integrity to be honest with yourself about any issue and all the struggles and obstacles that you have to learn to overcome better. And that's something that you just have to keep getting better at and keep pivoting on as you go through life.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And, I have an Italian background, and I see like, I will never buy jarred marinara or sauce, but I just look at it and like there's sugar. Second, ketchup. The second ingredient in ketchup is sugar, and it's not necessarily sweet, but it's there. And I saw some dried fruit, and that they added sugar to that, like to papaya. It's already so sweet. But they'll say, "If we don't add the sugar, nobody will buy it."
Yeah. I don't that is a yeah, that's just a constant battle we're gonna have
Yeah.
for a long time. And they might they don't know that until they try for one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can point fingers, you can have all the justifications you want to not do it, and you're probably, but one thing I would just, as we're talking about sugar, If you're trying to cut sugar out of your life, or if you're thinking, where do we start? We just talked about sugar. I would first say to try to cut out I would first start by just trying to cut out your processed foods,
Mm,
and I think that's the first step to a healthier diet. Whether it be cutting out sugar, cutting out fat, cutting out or just cutting down on calories, is to eat real food.
mm,
And so when you go get groceries, the real food, what I mean, first way to the perimeter of the grocery store is a way to start. So your fruits and vegetables, your meats, your proteins, your dairy products, and so all around the outside of the grocery store is where it's real food. In the middle is going to be more processed food. And what I mean by that, it doesn't have a ton of ingredients. So if you go and look on a potato or a bag of potatoes, or let's use almonds, you look at a bag on almonds and you look at ingredients, you know what it says? It says almonds. If you get a bag of almonds, the ingredient list says almonds. That's it. But if you go in the middle of the grocery store and you get a box of anything, the ingredient list is going to be 2 paragraphs long. And that's always a good rule of thumb when you first started out, that to keep the ingredient list short. If it's going to take longer to read the ingredient list than it does to eat the product, then don't get it.
simple rule of thumb. Yeah, the perimeter is really important. Um, yeah, just keeping your food very simple. What are your feelings on intermittent fasting?
um, a lot of my feelings on all things is for when it comes to nutrition is that you don't this is something that you have to test out for yourself. I think
Mm,
my own body, I've definitely learned that, figuring out the right nutrition plan for me that fits my lifestyle. A lot of times I feel like it's a science experiment. It's a lot of
mm,
trial and error figuring out what works best for you. There's a lot of people out there that swear by intermittent fasting, and clearly it works for them. And they're able to make it a part of their lifestyle. It's a permanent thing, not a long-term thing. Then I say great. But I think for a lot of people, it probably wouldn't be a good fit. I think the one thing you want to, where it comes to a diet or it comes to a meal plan, first of all, diet is really just another word for temporary.
right.
And so anytime you're doing a diet, just know that you're not going to do that forever.
Mm,
So you have to know what's next. And so if you're doing a diet specifically because you're trying to lose weight, just know that when that diet is run its course, you're going to go back to eating like you did before. So you have to have a plan. You have to know what's next, how are you going to maintain, and everything like that. But you don't know if something's going to work for you a lot of times until you try it. And so you just because something worked for somebody else doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. And also just because something worked for you in the past doesn't mean it's going to work for you now, because your life is different now than it was then. So a lot of it is trial and error, figuring out what's best for you and doing your research on everything too, making sure that whatever it is you're going to take on isn't unhealthy. And so there's a lot of like intermittent fasting, and then any kind of like a vegan diet or anything like that. There are things out there that you could Google and try to do some research on, and it's going to be about 50-50 of positive and negative articles about it. And so
mm.
you really don't know if it's a good fit for you until you try it yourself and see if it's going to fit for you, if it's going to give you positive results, it's going to fit in your life.
Yeah, very good advice. Last year around this time, I get a checkup, and uh my doctor, who I've seen for many years, I got weighed, and her way of telling me that I had gained a little weight was, "Hey Joe, did your Peloton break?" So so I so I said, "Okay, all right, I get it. It looks like I added a few." So I just started looking at intermittent fasting, and it really works well for me. I haven't had a cup of coffee my whole life, so I just don't eat anything till about 11 or 12 in the morning, and I essentially fast all. And you go to bed hungry, but when you wake up, you're not anymore. So it's something that works for me. I enjoy it, but like you said, it's not for everyone. So the three pillars of health, would you agree? Fitness, diet, and sleep.
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean that's pretty close to what I would say. I mean, and I have my second book is a workbook, and I have every chapter I cover the three main parts that I think, and I go, it's mindset, nutrition, and training.
Mm.
But I think the way you just said that, I mean, I could definitely see how those are very similar. But I mean, I think sleep is very important. It's something that we don't a lot of people don't address enough. And so sometimes I think, well, I don't have any energy to work out or anymore, and it could be that you're not body's not getting the recovery it needs because you're not sleeping, you're not getting enough sleep. And so, but yeah, I think that's a very good three.
Yeah. And ironically, oh, I don't know if it's ironic, but if you're overweight and obese, sometimes you don't sleep well. You
Mhm.
have apnea, your heart's beating more than it needs to. And as you get in better shape, you actually sleep better. They all kind of work together. So, Chad, when people ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? They're looking for some shortcut miracle like we talked about. And I just always say it's just discipline. That's it. That's all it did. Changed everything, and it's just discipline. How does discipline and I mean, you have an athletic background, you're a personal trainer. I mean, how does discipline factor in your life?
It factors in a lot. I mean, everything that I do, I'm always someone that's taking on a new challenge. Always looking for my next challenge to do, whether it be in my life, in fitness, in my business. And it's always a big goal I have. And I mean, and if I and part of this is I think when it comes to the 130 pounds that you did, that's incredible. I think anyone that does that long, I mean, I mean, had you had that big of a goal that you've accomplished before? Was that would say one of the bigger things you've done?
It's an interesting thing. I just kind of wipe it away. I don't, everybody says it's remarkable. I just knew something. I started a business and it's been very successful. I have two beautiful daughters. Those are a lot more important, my relationship with my friends and my family. Everybody does point it out as a huge goal, but it's just discipline. I just changed the way I'm ashamed that I let myself get there. And so to kind of erase that, I had to, negatively look at that and erase it. And now I just don't look at this. So it's just a different perspective.
You had a very good habit of discipline
Mm,
already before this
yeah.
goal, it sounds like. But I would tell for someone that is starting out, if you're wondering how Joey could do that
Mm,
and pull that off, that's such a big goal. And it's true. And if you have a big goal like that, 100 pounds or more, it feels like a marathon sometimes. Especially if you're new to fitness, it could seem like the finish line is so far
yeah.
away, and it could just almost seem impossible. And so, some things I would tell you as starting out is that for one, if you have the desire to get that great results, then first the first thing I say when I have a new client come in, I want to learn about their exercise history. I want to learn about their story, what obstacles and adversity they faced, and but number one, before they leave, I want to know what their limiting beliefs are. I want to
Mm,
understand. I want to hear from them what story they've been telling themselves. And so a lot of times when someone comes to a personal trainer, they've already tried and failed on their own a lot to reach their fitness goals. And so there may be part of them in their mind that don't really believe they're going to get success. They don't really believe they can. They think, I'll try this, but it probably won't work because nothing else has. Or this may give me a little bit of results, but eventually I'll fail because I always do. And if that's your story that you're going into it, that you're eventually going to fail, then you're not going to be successful. You have
mm,
to change that story because it's a fictional story. Just
mm,
because you didn't have success in the past doesn't mean you can't in the future, but you have to change that story you have in your head that you can't do it. And I think part of the way you change it is you start visualizing success. And so I think that was something that was instilled in me as an athlete. I've always had big goals. I think it started as an athlete and then it just grew and carried over the rest of my life. But I've always been able to visualize winning and visualize reaching my goal. And you have to think that way instead of thinking I'm eventually going to fail. You have to change that story in your
mm,
head, and then you also have to celebrate your wins. So every milestone. So
mm,
with Joey had it was 130 pounds, which is awesome. You have to be when you have a big goal like that. You have to be able to celebrate every milestone, and you keep stacking all those wins as you go, and it just keeps building your confidence over and over again. So eventually become unstoppable until you get the finish line. But you have to celebrate your wins, but I would say the other important part is you need to celebrate your wins with people who are going to celebrate with you. And so
mm,
this is a tricky thing when it comes to fitness because you may you may try to celebrate with someone and they may discount what you did as no big deal. And you don't need to celebrate with people like that. That doesn't mean you need to not be around those people, but don't celebrate with them. Celebrate with people who is going to they're not going to pop your balloons, but they're going to celebrate with you on the success you had. And that is very important, I think, to keeping you motivated and keeping you moving forward when you have a big goal.
Yeah, it's very important to celebrate, once you get to a goal. Too often. I remember reading about Tiger Woods, just top of mind. Like he would win the Masters, and then that Monday he'd be like, "Okay, where are we going to next?" It's just that's it. Let's move. I don't know if he actually kind of celebrated that and moved on. It's very important, and try to have somebody hold you accountable for that. Be around people who value that are is important too. Very, very good. How do you measure success, Chad?
Well, I mean, I think I measure success by just keep improving myself. And so I have a sweatshirt that I mentioned in in one of my books, but it says fitness is not about being better than someone else; it's about being better than you were yesterday.
Mm.
And so that's a quote that I love to always go back to. And so I think that's how I measure success is my about myself, how I'm improving. And so it's very hard not to compare to other people, especially in this day and age we have with social media and everything. And it's easy for us to compare our regular daily life, just another day, to someone's highlight reel that they posted online.
Hmm.
But the one thing I love about my hoodie is the second better on it is actually misspelled. It has three T's in it. So is your fitness is not being about being better than you used to be, or it's about being better than someone else, about being better than you used to be. The second better has three T's in it. And I didn't even realize it. So I've wore the hoodie like twice. But then now it's pointed out to me every time. But I think it just made me like the hoodie more because it really just brought the point home
Hmm.
even more so that it's not about being perfect and you're never going to reach that goal. It's about continuing to keep getting better and becoming a better version of yourself and whatever aspect you're trying to do. And so another one I love Beat Yesterday. That was our first shirts at our Priority Fitness Club that we use all the time. And so it's just about being better and improving as a person. And life just is scalable, whether it's be about fitness or anything else you're trying to do in your life, whether it's your relationships, your job, your family, but just about learning how to be better at it than you were before. I think that's the definition of success. Just being better than you were yesterday.
Hmm. That's wonderful. And what motivates you?
I'm a very I think what motivated me to be a personal trainer just that I had the desire to help people. I desire to help people. I want to make an impact, and I think I've learned that. And being a motivator in fitness and as a speaker, as a writer, and then as a trainer is my way of being able to do that. And so like my wife is a financial planner, and you would think that these two fields, personal training and finances, were far apart, right? But we've learned that's kind of what brought us together, because we're both in fields that help people. We help people change their behaviors and keep improving on them. And that's kind of what probably attracted us to each other is are those things. But I think that's really I want an impact. I want to help as many people as I can. And I think I've just continue to find more and more ways that is my best way of doing that. But I think that's definitely motivation for me when it comes to my field of expertise and just how I treat myself with exercise and fitness when I'm off the clock.
Great answer. And you've got a great video with your now wife, then girlfriend, where you're kind of talking, about really the disciplines. You're both disciplines and how they're really closer than people would think: finance and personal health. Chad Austin, great talking to you. Thank you so much for your time today. So you're in Overland Park, Kansas. How can people get in touch with you? And do they have to be in your geography to get your coaching?
No, you don't. It's one definitely. If you weren't good at virtual training before the pandemic, everybody is now, and so I definitely
Mm.
have the capabilities of training someone no matter where you are or what your schedule is like. But beat your excuses. Again, that is where you can go and get a free copy of my first book, and all of my books are Make Fitness a Priority as a book series, and they can be found on Amazon. And Make Fitness a Priority is where you can find me on all social media platforms. And regularly try to have good content out there and fitness tips to help people. But at beatyourexcuses.com, if you go get my book, if you want to work with me, start by getting the book and you'll definitely hear from me. But if you want to reach out to me, Chad at chadaustinfitness.com. I'll make sure Joey has that to put in the notes also.
Very good, Chad. Thank you so much. I love what you're doing. And, if I get out to that area, I'd love to have a cup of coffee with you and talk even further.
Absolutely.
Chad, thanks so much. I appreciate your time today. You be well.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Bye now. Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. There's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.